Good evening. We are live. We are live. The first coffee pod of the year. Not the first live. The first live was the 24-hour live stream, but the first coffee pod of the year. So happy 2023, everyone. We're still not sponsored by any coffee companies, but we're trying. And I'm delighted to have as my first guest someone who has become a friend. And I've only known Jamie for a couple of months since he's joined the Daily Refinement group, but we speak most days really and share advice, tips, and the rest of it. So for the people who do not know you, Jamie, what's your name? Where'd you come from?
Hello, everyone. Delighted to be on. Thank you, James. My name's Jamie Sullivan. I'm 19 and I'm from Cardiff in Wales.
Okay, Jamie. So what is it you do and what is it you sell? I mean, the title might have given it away a little bit to people, but what is it you do?
It might have, yeah. I sell mainly vintage clothing on eBay. I did have a brick and mortar and I used to be a Depop seller, but now I sell strictly on eBay, all online. And yeah, sell mainly vintage menswear, but also dabble in some other clothing as well.
All right, so we're waiting for some more people to join in, but we've got a couple of comments in the chat. I'll try and keep up with the chat as much as possible. So we've got Angela, who is from Australia. She's going to watch the replay due to it being 3 a.m. in Australia. And also we had Leanne in nice and early. So hi, Leanne, hope you're well. Tonks Boutique has just joined as well. They are from Scotland, as you can see. So we've got an Englishman, some Scots people, and a Welshman in here as well. So
Nearly got the whole of the UK. Come on,
a whole mixture. So Jamie, let's talk a little bit then, because you do have a brick and mortar, which you're obviously sitting in now. So talk about your journey to deciding you wanted to, first of all, sell vintage clothing and clothing in general, and then also to open up a brick and mortar. What got you to that point? Because for the people who do not know, Jamie is only 19 years of age. So, what got you to there?
So I started reselling like part-time. I was working, my mum owns a charity and she had this brick and mortar used to be a charity shop.
Yeah.
So during COVID, I worked here and I was buying like the most generic, like when you see on YouTube and stuff, like bulk vintage wholesale off the public suppliers, and they're not that good, and then I bought like one of those like mystery sacks and it was just a scam. So then I was working my mum's charity for about 8 months, just after I finished school. So I just finished year 11, and then I was opening a bag up, a black bag up, and it had nothing in it. And then at the bottom there was a 1995-96 Newcastle brown ale Adidas like full zip jacket.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's gonna be worth some money. And I knew nothing at the time. So I sold it then for the charity for, I think it was like 300 quid. And I was like, wow. So then I looked into it. I looked into football shirts. And then, because I think every reseller starts off as an everything seller.
Mm-hmm.
We all do, because you don't know anything. You sell everything that's not glued down. So then I was like, wow, there's money in this. So I started going to all the charity shops and everything. And then I was like, I'm going to start doing vintage clothing. So I had an office on the top floor of this estate, same building. But then I was like, oh, this is a bit of a ball ache carrying stuff up and down 3 flights of stairs, lots of clothing, and all your postage back down. It's very annoying. So my mum didn't open a shop back up during COVID due to all the regulations. So I took over the lease and I opened the shop June 11th this year. And then I closed the shop last week.
Yeah. So we'll talk a little bit later on about the reasons behind closing the shop. But your knowledge of clothing is, I will say, and I'm going to give you praise and credit here, is exceptional, because there's many things that I will send you from sourcing saying, Jamie, what do you think of this? And straight away you have the answer, real, fake, vintage, not vintage, or whatever. So where does that passion come from? Because you must be passionate about clothing. Have you sort of always grown up wanting to have like nice clothes, or have you always been into the vintage side? Where does that passion come from?
I was never into vintage, because I think when you're in school, like British school as well, like you wear school uniform and then like you just wear what everyone else wears. But I think once you leave school, you're sort of more of an independent person.
Yeah.
You can decide what you wear. You have an influence on yourself, on your tastes, your interests. So I sort of was like, God, I'm getting this gear and this is nice. might try that on. Ooh, that's nice.
Yeah.
And then I just start. I'm a collector as well, so I've got just shy of like 300 t-shirts in my room, all mine in my collection, and other various items. And yeah, I just decided one day this is what I'm gonna do. I wanted to sell like I was selling just like basic branded stuff, and I think the knowledge of knowing like is something real, is it vintage, is it a repro? It just comes with experience and having passion for what you're doing. Because I don't think I'd come as far as I have so far if I didn't like vintage clothing.
Yeah.
I think you've actually got to have a passion to do it. Otherwise, it becomes a chore. It doesn't really become. It's not. I don't really see it as a job because I like doing it. I just see it as I get to go to work down the street and I can just sell clothing, which is amazing. I think it's the best job in the world.
Amazing. Let's just catch up on the chat, say hello. So Shabmeister is in. If anyone in the chat has got any questions for Jamie as well with regards to vintage clothing, or anything in general, chuck them in the chat and we can ask Jamie a few questions as well. We've got Landon who's popped in.
The chat.
Landon's in the chat. We have Paul. Hi, Paul. He says he's found a local car boot happening this Sunday. Saturday, sorry. Paul, drop me a message. Let me know if you don't mind where it is because I need a Saturday one for sure. Tamabel Resell, who have now changed their name to Tamabel Resell, not Tamabel Sale. They've been on the Coffee Pod as well. Great couple, really enjoy their videos. JJ with a love heart for Jamie. I don't get no love hearts. This is Jess, Jamie, in case you didn't know, from the group.
Not Jess.
So it's Jess has popped in. Limelight Vinty as well. So first things first, Jamie, what's the tea of the day? What t-shirt have we got on today? Because I'm guessing you as a vintage clothes seller, you always like to flex a nice vintage tee. What have we got?
Well, you know of this, James, because every day in the daily refinement call, you always go, oh, what have you got on?
Yeah.
And I've always got something different on. So I've got a liquid blue Star Wars t-shirt for Jabba the Hutt's Palace.
And you don't know what year it is, do you? You're not sure on the year.
I don't know what year timestamped it is, but I know it's sort of like when Princess Leia was his slave, and then Han Solo stuck in the, I can't remember what it's called, like the metal thing, you know. But it's a nice t-shirt, and I collect all liquid blue Star Wars tees. Yeah, it's one of my grails, which I acquired. So
nice. Yeah. And what is? I know the answer to this potentially, but what is the best t-shirt you've got in your shop? It's the one I probably want.
It's the one you pestered me about. Yes.
Okay. Is that to hand?
It's not to hand currently. It's in my bedroom at home.
Oh, okay. So it's gone home. That's fine. But to the people who are watching, explain what the t-shirt is.
It is a Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield rap tee, and in the early 90s to late 90s, there was a lot of it's a bootleg t-shirt, which means it wasn't actually an original run. So it's a t-shirt and it's got all these crazy colors on it, crazy style, and they command so much value. If you go on eBay and search up like vintage rap tee, you'll see what I'm talking about. There's loads, and this is a cool one because they're not rappers. Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield, if you don't know, are boxers, and it was actually the fight that Mike Tyson bit the top of his ear off, Evander Holyfield's ear, which I think James got banned from boxing for that. Was it?
Yes, yeah, he did for a bit.
That was it. So yeah, it's a very, very rare t-shirt, and it was actually pretty much dead stock, so it had never been worn. And it was my craziest find ever. So
I'm still trying to lowball you with offers of it. I've offered you £200.
You still won't get it though.
So how much do you think the resale on that is?
It's like £500.
Okay.
So most rap tees though, if you get like an original, I've had a 2-pack one before, and I sold that for like $575. Yeah. But if you have like I know like Busta Rhymes, I'm trying to think off the top of my head now.
So for the people who don't know what a rap tee is, because before I probably spoke to you, I wouldn't have a clue. So just explain to people what a rap tee is for people in the chat who are thinking, what's a rap tee?
So they're essentially like parking lot bootlegs. So if you were to go to not necessarily, you could buy them in like market stores as well. They look like market store tees, to be honest, like front and back graphics, but they'll have crazy colors on them, and they're better than like the official tees because there isn't a lot of official merch for music and rappers. Mm-hmm. So say you went to a 2-pack concert in like 95 or I don't know what year, but in the 90s, you could buy in the parking lot, but car park, one of these T-shirts for like $15, and some guy would have printed it himself, sold them all, and now they're worth so much money because you just don't see them. Like,
yeah, so just rare.
you might see a couple a year in the UK. They're like the
Yeah.
rarest T-shirts you can come across, but some of them are worth like a Snoop Dogg Big Face rap tee. You can sell for like over $2,000. There's a lot of money in it.
Just for a T-shirt. It's
I know. At the
absolutely
end of
mental,
the day, it's just a piece of fabric with a print.
I know, but it's like anything what people collect as well. You know, things like trainers. You could say, well, actually, your pair of Lidl own brand trainers do the same job as a pair
like
of Nike.
action figures are just plastic.
That's it. We've got a question for you. The first question this evening. As I say, for anyone else who's just joined, if you've got any questions for Jamie, chuck them in the chat and we can answer them.
Yeah, I'd be delighted to answer them.
So Tonks Boutique, and you don't have to give away all your sources, but where do you get your clothes? Niche and Down's closed right now, but so many wholesalers send you crap. So let's talk on that. So about sourcing and wholesalers. So yeah, I'll let you answer that one.
Yeah, very great question. So I started like everyone did. You buy from public wholesalers. You see them on Instagram all the time. They've got loads of adverts. But I found that the best wholesalers don't have social media.
Yeah.
And you've got to find them I've got 6 or 7 wholesalers now, and people like private buyers as well, because I process a lot of clothing per week. I buy about 300-400 pieces a week. So because I've got an aggressive listing habit, as James knows, and I get a lot of clothing through. But I started how everyone else started. You have your public wholesalers, and I think you're not going to find a good wholesaler unless you put yourself out there, and you're a good buyer. Because you can't really get a wholesaler if you're buying 5 items a week. They won't sell to you. But I think if you're trying to niche down to clothing, I think the best bet is going to boot sales and charity shops to start off with, because you can find a lot if you look in the right places. You could go to a couple of towns and find 50 items.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as you know, Jamie, I spoke to you at the start of the year, and I've mentioned it before that I used to avoid clothing. I don't want to niche solely down to clothing. Well, I say that at this point, maybe in a year's time, I'm sitting there as a clothing reseller. Who knows? But
I hope so.
I'm gonna stop avoiding clothing. I think there's a real difference there. So what I'm doing myself is just trying to learn tags at the moment, because I've sent many things to you on Gildan tags or Fruit of the Loom tags, and I've always thought if it's Fruit of the Loom, it's going to be money. But actually, when you start researching it, there's modern day Fruit of the Loom tags, and there's 90s, 80s, and even earlier. And you've got to be looking for the oldest tag compared to just a modern, like 100%. A reprint kind of thing. So I think it is all about that learning. And so, but there is a lot of wholesalers, and a lot will send you rubbish. And at the end of the day,
some are good though. I think I remember when I first started, I was buying off public wholesalers, websites and all, and although like they're a bit expensive, there's stuff that they might not necessarily know. Like there was a guy in the group, and he bought like an outdoor hiking mix of Berghaus jackets, and they sent him, if you don't know about Berghaus jackets, I collect Berghaus jackets, so they sent him a Merapeak jacket, and you can sell a Berghaus Merapeak for 80 to 100 or more, depending on the colours, Gore-Tex. And a wholesalers look past that thinking it's just a basic Berghaus jacket. So it's not necessarily all public wholesalers are bad. Like, you can sort of build a relationship with one, and you've got to know. I think you've got to have the knowledge. Like, you've got to know what's special about something within the brand. It could be vintage. It could be a sample. It could be worn by a celebrity. It's something going to spike the value. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think you're right there. I think a lot of people feel that wholesale is going to be rubbish because they've picked through it all. And let's be honest, they're going to pick through most of it. But you're right, they sometimes miss things. And like what you said there, and actually the person in question, I'm sure he won't mind me saying, has just joined, Neil.
Hi, Neil.
So it was Neil who got that bundle, and actually, got some really good jackets in there. But I guess the temptation then comes from with that wholesaler to kind of say, let me order another bundle, or let me order, 10 times the amount. You're not always going to get them absolute wins. Yeah, you're kind of sometimes going to have to deal with the other stuff. And you're right, it's completely blind. Let me just catch up with some of the chat. So Sharon's in. Hi, Sharon. Pat's in as well. Yeah, so Tonks Boutique is saying charity shop takes too much time when you could be listing. Only way to scale is wholesale when it comes to clothing. So I agree with regards to charity shops take a lot of time, but others in the group especially do not agree and actually feel there's so much you can find from a charity shop. And I know, Jamie, you don't go to charity shops that much, but you went out the other weekend,
Yeah,
more like a bit of a hobby because you got really good supplies.
I do it for fun. Yeah,
And you still found some good bits, but I'm guessing you can draw a blank a lot of the times. But there again, as we just spoke about there, charity shops don't always know what they're putting out. You know, some charity shops will list up a Nike t-shirt for 20 quid and they might put a Berghaus shirt up for 3 quid. Kind of thing.
Honestly, James, I 100% agree with that because I will, with charity shops, because I can get all the stock I need for my listing habit off my suppliers. I go charity shop with my mum because we enjoy it, and you can get stuff for like your house, you can get stuff to sell. I mainly go there for stuff to sell, and I have a few towns I go to which I've built relationships with the people who work there as well, and I think you've just got to go often. You've got to have a route because otherwise, if you go to the same charity shop every day, it's not gonna be good. Most charity shops don't restock a lot per day because I worked in a charity shop. You rarely restock. You restock only when you get stock in, and January's quite a quiet time. Mid to end January, start of January is really quiet. Really busy. Mid to end is very slow. And I'll go to a charity shop. I went charity shop on the weekend. I got I think I went to 4 shops, got 35 pieces. You get nothing mad, but you're getting stuff that meets your metrics. And I think that's the key. I don't think you can go to a charity shop anymore and expect to pick up 50 bangers. But if you are kind of looking at things, maybe double your money. What you want to get.
Yeah, it's a great point. We spoke about that quite a lot with regards to the bronze and silver items.
Yeah.
You're going to get maybe 1 gold out of the 35 items potentially, but it's quite rare. You're probably going to pick up a platinum. But then we've had other people in the group who say they've gone to a charity shop and they've got loads of great items and loads of gold items in that fact as well. So I think it does depend on the area. I went to the charity shop last week. And I spent a little bit of time in there looking at the clothing, but I don't know enough at the moment. So I think it's all about your Rolodex. You think you need to improve on the brands you know, what to look for, what not to pick up, etc. So that just comes with experience.
It comes with experience and effort at the end of the day, because if you, for me, a charity shop takes 5 minutes or less.
Yeah.
I don't really sell. I've started going through women's clothes. I sell only women's variations of men's clothes.
Yeah.
So sweatshirts, hoodies. I won't do dresses or anything like that. Stuff I know the styles of. So I'll go to a charity shop. I'm in there, in and out. I don't look at anything else. If it catches my eye, I'm not going to pass on a sealed GameCube like we were speaking about earlier. You just wouldn't.
Yeah.
But
the sealed GameCube that never turned up. And if you've seen the vintage video, you know why.
Yeah, the viral video, yeah. So what you do is, I think with the experience of knowing what tags to look for, you don't necessarily have to search stuff up as well if you've already had it in. So you just go, no. And you just go through it and then you check the condition and stuff. But I think it was Tonks Boutique was saying, you could be listing. But what you could do is get your listings done first. And then you've got the rest of the day to go charity shopping. If you've already got your listing goal done, you've got the rest of the day to source.
Yeah, I think with charity shops, they can be good in parts, but they can also be a real time suck as well. Yeah. I think you've got to go against the grain a little bit because the boot sales are going to be opening in the next couple of months and everyone's going to drop the charity shops and go straight to boot sales. So that's probably the time when I'm going to start doing a bit more charity shop as well as boot sales because everyone's hopefully, and other people in here probably will think the same as me now, is everyone's off to boot sales. The charity shops are going to start getting full with new stuff and people are not going to be picking it every day. So you've got to find the opportunity. We'll just go to Jess. So Jess says she wholesales electronics out. If they are regular and nice, they can have a discount. If they are bums, I refuse to sell to them and never give a discount. So she's savage when it comes to that, but I completely get that with regards to wholesale. You know, you're happy to do someone a good deal, but you want them to be a constant regular customer. And I think that's why, Jamie, we won't go into all of your tips and tricks about sourcing, but I think that's why you have really good supply because you're regular. You know, you're not the kind of person to say,
I'm not going anywhere. I agree.
And not just that, it's rejection as well. Sometimes you've got to take the rough and the smooth, and you're not always going to find 100 pieces of amazing stuff. You might only have 30 pieces in there, but the rest of it can sell, but you've always got that supply coming through. So I think that's really important.
100%, James, because I've had, when I first started buying off suppliers, I would buy like 40 pieces here and there, maybe a bit more.
Yeah.
And then once I got the space to store more and list more, I was like, right, I'm taking all this. And then those people come back to me. They come to, with my private buyers, a lot of them sell to other people as well. Like, they'll pay more for stuff. So they might sell them like higher end gear, which I don't mess with. Like, I'm not paying high price money for higher end gear.
Yeah, makes perfect sense.
What happens is my supplier, he'll bring me everything, and then I'll go through it, and I get first pick because I'm the priority to him, because I spend the most money, I buy the most stock, because he knows, I'll sell all this guy, he's gonna take it all. And when you go to when you pick it yourself as well, because I handpick every single item, I get every single item, so there's no errors, or I don't mistakenly pick someone up because I've seen it's past me. Yeah, which is really good because there's no excess. So I know
that's also important. I think the excess, because you've then got to find a way to shift that on. Otherwise, you just end up with a pile of stuff in the shop.
That's the thing with wholesale. If you order blind, you might like. I remember when I first started, I was ordering like those bales from Side Vintage, and they're really good until a lot of people on YouTube started talking about them. There's loads of followers on it, and then they raised the price, and the shipping was taking like a month, and it just turned really dodgy quite quick. So I stopped doing that, but it was good for a bit. But then you've got to, if you order stuff from bales, they come really compressed. You've got to deal with stuff that you can't sell, like stuff with like school logos on and stuff, which isn't worth anything. And then you've got to spend your work time then on getting rid of that excess, which is something you shouldn't have to do.
And that is so much time as well. So you need to take that into account. We got Chop in. Hope you're good. We got Thrifty Georgie, who actually stayed with us. I want to shout out him because he stayed with us for the 24-hour live stream. He jumped in, I think it was around 11 o'clock. And I kept saying to him, I said, you're going to be on long? He was, maybe another hour. And then it got to about 9 in the morning and he was still there going strong listing. So, credit to him. Absolutely. Let me have a look here. So Landon's got a great question. I know you're early in the game, but do you have a specific end goal vision for your business, like employees, second brick and mortar, etc.? So first things first, let's talk about what you mentioned earlier and I'll follow on nicely to this question. So you've actually closed your brick and mortar, as in physically closed it for people coming in. So explain your decision behind that, and that might lead on to Landon's question there.
It's a great question. I appreciate it, Landon. So I closed my brick and mortar after, 7 months?
Yeah.
Because where I'm located, it's not in a town centre or anything. I see it more as a storage place, and there's not a lot of footfall. And I was weighing up how much it's bringing in to how much effort I'm putting in, and I didn't like it. So I was like, and I looked around because I was storing all my clothing on it's steel industrial rails, and I was like, I can only fit 2,000 items in here because you need a lot of walking space in a brick and mortar. And then I was like, if I have shelving, which two people in the group, Luke and Mark Rosales, helped me with, if I'd shelving around the whole of my shop, I could get 10,000 or more items in here, and it's not going to cost me anything more other than the shelves. And it would be easier for me to run a system. Because when you have a shop, there's a lot of downsides to it. It's good for social media and meeting people, but it's a bit of a hard task because you've got to be here. It sort of decides when you can go home, because you've got to be here until the doors close at the end of the day. If no one comes in during the day, it's not really worth you being here. You don't know. So I think it was the best decision I've ever made in my life, actually. And I spoke about it a lot with you, and I think it was just a great decision to have all these shelves, be able to pick straight away, ship it out straight away, and just focus online. Because I've got a lot of good business on eBay, and I just think it would be 100% better to just focus on eBay and not have the worry of people coming in. So yeah.
I think with a shop, everyone kind of always envisions, do you know what? I would love to own a shop, and I completely get that because I've been there. But I think the behind the scenes parts of owning a shop, and we've spoke about it because I even said to you today, have you had anyone knock on the door and kind of been tempted to sort of say, look, I'm not open to the public walk-in, but you're here, pop in, have a look. But you then talked a lot about the health and safety aspects and the fact that you have to have certain space for wheelchair access and the rest of it and stuff.
Yeah.
So there's a lot what goes into it. But with Landon's question there, do you have an end goal and vision for the business? Do you want to recruit staff in the future, or what's the vision? Because at 19, as I said earlier, I think you're doing absolutely amazing. And do you know what? I am jealous that you're so young, and I wish I started earlier. So you're doing really well. But have you got that end goal in mind, or at the moment, are you just living the dream and want to keep growing?
I honestly think that you can always do better, and always you can give you 100%, but you can always grow. And you can.
Yeah.
I don't think you should just aim to stay the same. If it works for you, it works for you. But I always think you should grow. You should always be constant growth. And I was gonna have the shop, and then once I reached 3,000 items max with getting a storage unit or whatever, as well as the shop.
Yeah.
I was gonna move on to a warehouse, but then I was because that's all I could fit. But then I was I could store more in here without a shop and less hassle, and work less hours but more reward.
Yeah.
So I was I'd be able to get a warehouse after having 12,000 items listed, active on eBay. Be a huge store. And I'd say my main goal is to buy my mum a house, and then I would like to do. I've got currently staff as well. I've got a lady, shout out Claire, who does my ironing preparation for me. What a gem you are, Claire. And she helps so much. She's honestly the best member of staff I could ever ask. She's the only member of staff, so she gets employee of the month every month. So,
well, sometimes you give it to yourself, but
yeah, exactly. I could never give it to myself, no. But I just think my goal was to get a warehouse and just scale online. So my first goal is to have in the next 5 years 20,000 active, selling 198 a day.
Yeah.
An average
Sorry, Jamie. We'll go to the average sale price, but I know the answer to this. But why 198? Because that's, to some people, they think, why do you want 198? It's such a random number.
198 is less than a 1% sell-through rate.
Yeah.
And I'm currently at a 2% sell-through rate. But I think with more scale, you might have to pick up more lower tier stock, which might not turn around as quick.
Yeah.
And 198 is with my average sale price, is to then net $1 million a year, which I think I can do with 1 or 2 employees listing as well as me. Because I currently list 60 a day on my own in 3 hours.
Yeah.
Which I'm very pleased with. And I appreciate everyone in the group helping me narrow it down to a quicker time and get into that mentality. And I think I could list 200 a day, sell around 200 a day. And yeah, $1 million net profit a year would be amazing. I'd be buzzing with that, yeah.
And that's your 5-year plan?
Yeah, I think I'll be doing it in 3 years though. But
okay. So by the time you're 25, you want to have hit the $1 million?
Yeah, per year, yeah.
That's crazy.
Which is, I think, with an average sale price of £14, it's not a big sale. That's just a silvery bronze item.
When you break it down, it becomes more achievable for sure. On paper,
it sounds anything, though, isn't it?
It's like an impossible.
Yeah.
Right, let's catch up on the chat. So Damien's in. Hi, Damien. Hope you're good. We've got another question for you coming up. And Lionheart Vinty says, Jamie, is it your shop that Master of Pieces Ian visited and videoed?
Yeah, it was. Ian's good mate, and I met him down when Splot Market was still going. Best boot sale in Wales, as well as Sully boot sale. But I remember I spoke to him when he used to go down there and film down there. And yeah, another great YouTuber as well as James. And yeah, he did a video here, bought some bits, and yeah, it was really good for the shop as well. So appreciate that, Ian.
Yeah, shout out Ian. We got Lee in who says Jamie lol vintage tea king. So this is retro pursuit. Lee in the group.
Is he at home source?
Him and Jamie have really good banter in the group. So that's cool. Sales unexpected Pete. We got Pete in. I saw Pete down the car boot sale. Trying to think of the date. Yesterday it was. Can't even. It's Monday today, isn't it? Is it Tuesday? What day is it today?
Monday.
It's Monday. I can't even keep up with the days. Yeah, yesterday I saw Pete down the car boot. I see Pete, you put your video out, so I'm going to watch that later on tonight, and I'll be dropping my video hopefully tomorrow, if not on Wednesday. I'll speak later on about some plans I have for tomorrow, exciting plans for my business. Let me just catch up here. So Tonk says I follow a few big clothing resellers, and they list dirty items. Do you list dirty items and just add may need a wash in description, or do you wash everything that's stained? Good question.
Wicked question. Wow. Tonk's Boutique. Just side fact, your questions are amazing.
Yeah, they're really good.
That is actually a wicked question. Yeah. I've been asked this in the group as well. I process a lot of clothing, and with vintage clothing, there's a sort of speculation that clothes are dirty, but a lot of them aren't. And with the whole styles of like the workwear style and clothes being flawed, because if you put item is dirty in your description, people will see that as a negative. Yeah. If you say like item is in vintage condition, has a few signs of wear, please see pictures above.
Yeah.
Targeting that sort of market, like I don't mind if my clothes have got stains on it, because I don't necessarily think it's dirty. I sort of think that someone else has worn it for about 30, 40 years, tells a bit of a story. You know, it's like you're wearing a book. But yeah, I just think I don't wash all my clothing. I iron all my clothing. I make sure they smell nice, and I'll only wash something if it adds a value to it. So I'll sell something just cheaper than market price because I sell under market anyway. I'll just make sure it's in the price due to the flaw. But a lot of stuff doesn't affect the market price if it's flawed. Like if you have I know, like a 90s 3D emblem Harley Davidson t-shirt and it's got some marks on it, it's not going to go down on the price. But if you've got a white Ralph Lauren shirt with yellow in, that's going to affect the price because there's a different audience wearing it.
Yeah, there's true vintage and vintage in a way, I guess. But you're saying you do the sniff test then, which is a bit interesting at times.
Well, I've got like a bloodhound nose. Yeah, I can just smell clothing really well, and the most common smell with clothing is like cigarette smoke.
Yeah,
and if that comes in, you just wash it. But
yeah,
a lot of my stuff does arrive clean already.
Yeah,
so I'm fine with it. It just needs an iron at the end of the day, and yeah, I've processed a lot of clothing, so I'm not nose blind yet, but
not yet.
Yeah.
Hi, Gary. Gary's in. So Lisa is saying, I saw your video masterpieces. You have some great stuff. Just wonder how you managed to do some of the stuff so cheap. As I don't drive, I buy clothes from wholesale. So, yeah, I guess the question there is how do you keep your prices low? Because if you go on Jamie's eBay store, his prices are very reasonable on lots of his stuff. You don't overprice things. You're very much in the market of
not in the storage business.
Not a storage business, not in the storage game. But I guess the answer for that, and quote me if I'm wrong, Jamie, but you've got to find the source. I think that's where the key is. So you don't want to find the person who has done the original sort, but you want to find you want to be next in line after there, because you don't want to be fourth and fifth down the line because the prices just keep going up and up and up. And like we spoke about earlier, Jamie has a number of suppliers who he guarantees a certain amount of buy each week. Yeah. And that gets them coming to him because it's guaranteed money for them. They're trying to get rid of these. The way I look at it is very similar to a house clearance person. You know, if you get in contact with a house clearance person and you say to them, I'm going to come to you 4 times a week and pick through your stuff, and I guarantee I'll take the rough with the smooth, they're going to be your supplier. And they're going to come to you because they're looking to clear it as quick as possible, because next week they're going to get all new stuff in as well. So
they want the guaranteed sale, but I like to see it as a boot sale, because if you go to a boot sale, if it starts at 6 a.m. and you go at 3 p.m., you're not going to get as much chance of getting stuff as the person who's gone at 6 a.m.
Yeah,
you've got to be there first, and if you can't get within a supplier, you can go to someone who buys off a supplier,
Mm.
let them keep some of the nice stuff, but because they will always miss stuff. Because no one knows everything. No one knows everything. Right. So you might know something that they don't, and they've missed it, and you'll win on that. But that happens every day down the charity shops and the boot sales. Like you were saying about tags earlier, you can have a Fruit of the Loom t-shirt that was made last week, and it's on your kid's school uniform. But you might go to a shop, they see it as a Fruit of the Loom t-shirt, it's £2. But that's an original 1980s Iron Maiden.
Yeah. And this is why I'm trying to learn tags myself, because people will sleep on that. You know, the mention about charity shops earlier. And when I go to charity shops now, I'm not looking at your Adidas t-shirts, your Nike t-shirts. I'm not necessarily looking for your North Face kind of things where everyone knows, you know, it's worth this money. I'm looking for them Fruit of the Loom t-shirts where, like you say, someone in the charity shop might think, oh, it's a £1 tee. But actually, by learning tags, you can look at it and say, well, actually, this is an original 80s band tee, which is worth £300. So you can find them in charity shops still, for sure. Same as boot sales. You know, people will chuck a bag of clothes on the floor at the car boot. And the best example I've had is when I went down to see my brother, and I hope Chris Cooking Hayden's not watching, he was at the car boot when I picked up them 2 Guns N' Roses tees. You know, I knew Guns N' Roses was a good band. I didn't even know at the time they were original, and one of them sold for, I think it was $160 pretty quickly, really.
Yeah, the Use Your Illusion tour one. Yeah, that's a good one. There's a tie-dye version of that as well. That's good.
Let me have a look at the questions here. Tamara Bell's got a great question with regards to photography, which is, I think photography is most important when listing clothing, personally. Yeah, just because for colours, you know, if I'm listing this iPhone, people know what an iPhone looks like. But with clothing, I think the blues and the purples can be missed. Black's very hard. Yeah. Black's very hard to photograph because if you get close to black, it kind of fades out a bit. So talk a little bit, if you don't mind, Jamie, about your photo setup, because they struggle with lighting. So what do you do?
I use a softbox light and the lights in my shop. And I've got a rolling rail, which I put 60 items on the night before, reset to 0. And as soon as I either take my photos the day before, once I've done my listing and everything for that day, I take the photos the day before, usually, and put 60 items on this rolling rack. And I have... I did have a rail where this white wall is. I've got a white wall background because I don't really like using a white background with Photoshop because you look like everyone else.
Yeah.
I think you've got to have like something that sticks out to the naked eye. You've got to look for like wooden floors, a good thing, just beige carpet like tech uses, and people will then remember your store off your backdrop.
Yeah.
And what your photo style looks like. And I do hanger shots, and yeah, I think my photos are great. We looked at them in the group the other day and had good response.
Do you mind if I share your? I mean, your store is the same name as your Instagram and stuff. So do you mind if I quickly share a picture of your photos?
Of course.
Is that all right? Just so we can show Tam and Belle what you do. Also, before I do that, let me just drop that one in there. So Jamie's not on YouTube. He's not a YouTuber, but he's on Instagram. So if everyone can go and follow him at Sully's Vintage. So Sully's with a Z Vintage. And in the meantime, I will show you Jamie's store. So as you can see, all of Jamie's photos are so similar. If you scroll, same background, same kind of lighting, and everything is really crystal clear. So this is a great example, if you are a clothing store, of how it should be done, I feel, because everything is just the same. And I think people like that. So, yeah, Tam Bell, that's a really good way to set up your photo setup. Moving on, and this brings me on nicely, because what I was going to ask you is with regards to your journey into eBay. So, Depop, you used to be a Depop seller. What was it that made you move away from Depop and go on to eBay? Because now you don't do Depop, is that correct?
Yep, great question, James. I was selling on Depop for about a year. I think it was like 3,500 sales on there. And it was great. I was selling on there all the time. And there was a lot of bugs with it. And I stopped selling on eBay because I was selling on eBay a bit. But then I stopped selling on eBay because Depop is very much like Instagram. It's very easy to list.
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy. Like it's so quick to list an item. And I remember I used to list on Depop and cross-listed to eBay because it was so quick.
Yeah.
And there was just a lot of bugs and everything. And they only give you like Thrifty George, you were saying there's literally only 4 photos.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can show an item off in 4 photos because eBay, I do 12.
Yeah.
And 4 photos, you'll have front, back, close up, tag. But if there's a flaw, how are you going to take a photo of the flaw and the tag? So you're either going to try and prove that it's real or show the actual flaw. Can't do that.
Yeah.
So I think that's bad. And there's a lot of I was a top seller on there for ages, and I used to sell like 80 items a week, but then it went to like I had more stock on, same listing, same process, and I was selling like 15 items.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's odd. I'm selling quadruple that on eBay or more back then, and I'm only selling 15 a week on Depop, but I'm doing the same work.
Yeah.
You've got a bump on Depop. On eBay, you don't bump. So bumping is basically the term for refreshing your store on Depop. So what you do is you literally like press edit and press relist.
Yeah.
And
so it's like ending and sell similar on eBay in a way.
Yeah, which I don't do on eBay, but I think that's a lot of effort because if you bump in a store and you've got 1,000 odd items, that's going to take you an hour and a half, 2 hours. Could have done listing or sourcing in that time. It's wasted energy.
So what was it then that made you finally decide? Because a lot of people cross-list, so they might have left the Depop thing going on, but you completely went full eBay, didn't you?
Yeah, I think I joined the Reseller Nirvana group in, I want to say October, November. I can't remember.
Yeah,
but,
I think it was October time.
And I was selling on Depop and everything, and I was using, we'll talk about it a bit though, a different postage courier. Yeah. And I wasn't enjoying cross listing because what I do is I'd list on eBay during the day, and I'd cross list to Depop.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is taking up my whole day.
And you've also got the store as well.
I'm on Depop in the night. It's not worth it. And I had the Mortar.
Yeah.
So I was working essentially 3 stores, and I was cross listing to. You get invited if you have a good vintage page. You can get invited to ASOS Marketplace.
Yeah,
which is like the vintage section of ASOS, which is ASOS, and it's private sales.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be invited on to go on there, not like Depop. Anyone can list on there.
Yeah.
So I started doing that, but it was taking so long to cross list everything, and I was having a lot of. There was actually the final straw with Depop had a glitch where it wouldn't mark a sold item as sold, so I'd sell it like 2-3 times, and that would mess up my entire system in my shop.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm just deleting everything.
Let's have a look here. So I'll catch up. So yeah, Tam Bell's chucked in my Instagram. So yeah, if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's Bold Finds, like YouTube as well. Jess is saying 50 listings today. Call me Jamie. So well done, Jess.
Let's go, Jess.
Jess got a 50 up. Now I know this answer, but Tama Bell would like to know, Jamie, would you ever consider doing YouTube?
I don't know. I don't think I'd necessarily enjoy it because I don't go out actively. I can't show like where I source my items from and everything like most YouTubers do. Yeah. Because it's private supply, private contact. I can't really give away the secrets of it.
You don't want to tell your private supplier.
Yeah, because it's like I think with YouTubers and stuff, like you film yourself going down the boot sale and everything. Yeah. But I just don't think I could have the effort and time to do it because like I'm going through everything down the boot sale as well, and I don't think I could take it to like where I pick my clothes and stuff. Yeah. It just reveals secrets. But I did want to be a YouTuber when I was younger, yeah. I think everyone does.
So we got Rich in Night's Life. Hope you're good, Rich. So I have a question for you, Jamie. I need to try and think how I can start this. Well, it's as simple as this, really. So you obviously was on Depop, was on eBay. Why Daily Refinement? What was it about the Daily Refinement group that made you think to yourself, do you know what, I want to join this group? And, you know, what was it that gave you the push? Was it watching Chris's videos or what was it for you?
Well, I actually started watching Chris in 2020 lockdown when like you couldn't leave your house.
Yeah.
And I watched, I think, every single YouTube video of like what he had on and everything. Like from the 10K on the Bay days with the selfie stick, and like it was just crazy. The knowledge was impeccable. And I started listening to the podcast, and I was like, you can get more of the podcast if you join the group.
Yeah.
And like you can speak to people. So I was speaking to Tech on Instagram and everything. He was like, I think you should join the group. You'd really like it. And I joined the group, and literally as soon as I joined, Tech was like, put a post out about what you do. I put a post out, and I had so much like love on the post, and everyone commented everything. I was like, you don't get a lot of this on social media, in the social media scene, especially with vintage clothing. And it was just amazing to see people like who do so well. Like there's people in the group who list like hundreds a day, sell hundreds a day. You don't see them because they're silent assassins.
Yeah.
But they're in the group, but they're not on like social media and everything. It's just the knowledge is amazing. And it's just nice to speak to people and be able to ask a question. Because if you don't know, you might spend 40 minutes trying to answer a question. Because you put in the group, someone's answered you in seconds.
And you've made loads of changes and improvements since you've been in the group such a short time. What would you say is the biggest thing you've changed in your business that is just helping you reach maybe a new level? Because a lot of people are quite skeptical about joining a group, and I completely get it because I was in that boat at one point. I was thinking, why would I want to pay for information when it's free online? You hear that a lot. But what is the one thing you said you've maybe learned from? It might not even be Chris Tech, or it could be anyone that you've implemented that you thought, do you know what, this is a game changer?
I just think having a lot of different people's opinions as well, like someone to go to, because I'd say one of the biggest things, I had a lot of change during my group because I think people were actually opening my eyes. And I think if I didn't have the group, I'd be still doing what I was doing. My shop would be still open. So I think it's made me look what's better for not necessarily like for it as a whole, the business to grow and not the bigger picture. Yeah. So I think the top three of them would be, I was using Royal Mail for over a year. And then during with all the strikes and everything, I noticed they weren't scanning items and you get a defect on eBay. So I switched to Every, and because I was having to type in the address and everything. If you ship through eBay on Every, it's so quick. It's literally like less than a minute a parcel. Yeah. It was a game changer when you helped me with that, James. So I appreciate that. And I'd say another thing was closing my shop. It's a very big change. And just stopping cross-listing, because I think if you're cross-listing, you're essentially doing all this effort for different things, and then you have to end an item, make sure it's taken off another site. Whereas if you're selling just on eBay, there's none of that. I would spend so long taking stuff off Depop, off eBay, off Vinted, off ASOS Marketplace. It's just not fun to do.
Yeah, it's a bit tight. I know there's different programs, and people might put in the chat about Zip Sale, which is a program that, you know, for what it does, it sounds like it does a good job. But I'm in the same boat as you. I want to master eBay before I think of anything else. I did think of Amazon. Last year, I was thinking about maybe to open up Amazon. And I'm still considering that in the future, but it would have to be for the right thing for Amazon. I wouldn't want to send all of my stuff there anyway. So
it's a bit dodgy. Yeah, I wanted to be an Amazon seller during, it was like 2020 or 2019. I was like, I bought like, it was something weird. It was like summer holiday calendars for kids or something. I was like, these are £2 each, and they sell on Amazon for $29.99. But then I was like, you have to be like a certain age or something to send it or something like that. And I was only like 16 at the time. So I was like, I can't do that. And it'd be a bit dodgy if it was in my parents' name. So I was like, I don't know if I want to do that because I'm dependent on someone else to make sure the item got there. Which I'm sure a lot of people do it successfully, but I don't know if I could do that. And can't really sell vintage clothes on Amazon.
No, it's a different market. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people speak highly of Amazon. I mean, I use Amazon. I probably use Amazon more than eBay when it comes to buying stuff, just because it's quick. You know, it's like if you need something to arrive tomorrow, I can order something now on Amazon and it will definitely be here tomorrow, where eBay might take a bit more time. But I think with Amazon, a lot of people have sold on there. I know Nick Hills kind of used to sell on there quite a bit as well. And he said that he stopped because of the policies on Amazon with regards to returns and stuff.
I saw that video, like a Star Wars thing, and it got returned.
Yeah. And with eBay, I mean, I think I'm the same as you, doing the 60-day returns, because I'm under the
Agree, yeah.
mentality of if someone's going to return an item to you, it's going to be within the first few days of receiving it. Not many people are going to have an item for 59 days and then open a return. It's going to be few and far between. But I think with Amazon, they've got months before and even years. I've heard some people being able to return thing after a year and you having to
Couldn't
pay
deal
out
with
of your pocket and stuff. So
especially if
that's
you don't
what,
have the funds to do that refund, that could put you in the negative.
yeah, that's what's
Well,
putting me. That's what's putting me off a little bit with regards to Amazon. So everyone's trying to get some thumbs up on the stream. So yeah, Tamabel, thanks for that, and also Sharon. That's right. 46 in and only 3 thumbs. Come on, likes are free. Come on, Jamie, say it for me.
Likes are free.
Likes are free. So I want to talk a little bit about obviously what we spoke about earlier with regards to space. I today made a decision to rent 2 garages. So I am going to be storing my stock now off-site, mainly because the shed is overflowing. If anyone who watches any of my videos, especially when it comes to the picking and packing videos, you will see that I'm just constantly having to move stuff in the shed and it's an absolute mess. So space-wise for you, how long have you got until you outgrow your space? Because you obviously have these growth plans, which is really exciting to get to X amount of items and get staff in. How long or how many items do you feel you can store in there comfortably before you have to say, look, I need a second space or to move completely?
Well, when I had the shop open, because I had all this wasted space because I have rails everywhere, enough space for walking, for health and safety, and I think the max I could do in here was 2,000. But then I was getting a shipping container right by the side of my shop in my car park space.
Yeah.
And I think it was like, I can't do maths in my head right now, but it was a good size, yeah. And
yeah,
I was going to be able to fit I was going to do like shelving in there, and I was thinking, I can get like 1,000 items in there, but I'm still going to get the container. But then I was like, hang on a minute, I can fit what I can get on a double rail in like half or less of a 6-tier shelf, 5-6-tier shelf.
Yeah,
and it's easier to pick the item because it's always in a postal bag. But when you have stuff on hangers on rails, with a shop, you get people pick something up, on the sweatshirt rail on your skew, and they'll put it in their jackets over there. You don't know that's there. So once that's sold, you're like, where is it? Are you going to look through 2,000 items to find this item? You're not here. So you've got to then say to the person, really sorry, can't find the item. You can risk a negative for that.
Yeah.
And if that piles up, you lost your account. You're not going to, that's not scalable. So I was like, it really opened my eyes up. Luke in the group and Mark in the group were like, you can fit this much space in a container. I was like, you're fitting like 2,000-3,000 or more items in a container. How is that possible? Where I've got this whole shop and I can only get 2,000 max. And that's with like the rails being, you can't go through them. They're so full. It was crazy, the difference in space. So I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to do this.
And that's a recent change. I mean, I think you put your first shelving unit up yesterday, and I think the second one's gone up today. So how long do you think it's going to take you to transition from your current setup with the skew and the rail to shelving?
So my main priority at the moment is to obviously get my listings done every day.
Yeah.
So get the 60 a day done by around midday, lunchtime. And then for the rest of the day, I'm going to stay longer than I normally do and just start putting stuff over. I could do like, because all I'm doing, I'm putting it straight in the parcel bag. So then all I have to do is stick the label on, it's gone.
Yeah.
So I'm putting a number on it and putting my little sticker on it, my business sticker, like that.
Yeah,
and
fine.
It's just, it'll cut out the shipping process as well.
Yeah.
I take that into account with my time when I'm doing it. And I think if I can empty one of my rails like every day or two, I think I'll be done by mid to early February. I might just smash it out. So I know once it's done, it's done.
Yeah.
I don't want to take like 6 months to do it because I know once it's done, it's done. I might get some help with the staff as well to make sure it's done properly as well. Because you want to make sure it can like withstand a long period of time. You don't want to change it all over and then there's mistakes. Because the last thing you want is to lose your account over sending people the wrong items, getting defects.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Mistakes can happen, and like what you're saying there, and word advice to people who are listening. With Jamie, he's putting his items in the bag with the skew on, but that's because Jamie's quite used to doing this in volume. So when you first start, I'd probably recommend putting them in maybe a clear bag to put into a poly bag, because you can easily make mistakes. So Tam's asking questions. I'm guessing this is Tam, might be Belle, but it might be both of them. Is there a good way to start skewing items? Some might say we badly need to do one instead of relying on memory. Yes, I used to do the same. I think for the first 100 items, I used to just say, oh, I know where that is. And you kind of do, because 100 items to look through is not crazy. But I think me and Jamie skew different ways, really. So, Jamie, do you want to talk about your example? And if it's any different from mine, I will talk about it.
So I think, personally, you have to start a skew system once you have to put your items in more than one place.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't just have bag in the corner, bag in the other corner, because that's going to mess you up.
Yeah.
I remember when I first started, I had like the clear IKEA shelves, and I labeled them all, and that was easy to pick stuff out of, but when you fold clothes, it's quite hard to do. But I think skewing, what I do on my listings is in the skew, I put what I paid for the item, and I used to put the date that I listed it, but then I realised it says at the top, and I then just put where it is. So currently with my rail system, it's like sweatshirt rail 2, so I'll put SR2.
Yeah.
And then I know when it sells, because I do everything from my phone. I look at it on my phone and I go, that's on SR2, done. Pick it, put it on. I then have a sold rail behind my till, which is also my photography rail, and it's on wheels, and I put all the sold items on there and pack it.
Yeah. So I do it slightly different. So I think Tam, remind me, I'm sure you are, but I think Tam and Belle, I think you guys are everything seller still, similar to myself. So what I do is I have different tubs in the shed. I have A1 to 6, B1 to 6, C1 to 6, D1 to 6. And then what I will do is I will say list the phone, and I will put in there, in the skew, I'd put A1. But if I have 10 phones to list, I won't chuck them all in A1. It's similar to where I do, house phones. I will chuck one in A1, one in A2, one in C1, one in C2, because otherwise when you're digging in the tubs, it's so easy to find that one-off item compared to looking at all these phones and saying, well, which one is it? Is it this one with this certain condition? Is it this one that's got a slight scratch on it? So my recommendation, if you have multiple of the same items and they're all different conditions, store them in different areas for the tub system. But I think if you're a niche seller, what Jamie was saying, there's the perfect way to do it. Have a SKU system that follows numbers. So you can buy, and I think, Jamie, you've done this, you can buy a big roll of SKU numbers from Amazon or eBay. Have you got them to hand? There we are. Yeah, so a big roll of numbers. And
that's like 0 to 2,000.
So what's your number at the moment?
It's low because I only just started doing it. But
so this is how
31, guys.
This is how far Jamie's behind his new SKU system. But what we're saying is, if you could buy them with Amazon, they're not that expensive. And then what you can do is just start from 0001, wherever it is, and just work your way back in that sense. And I think that's the best way to do it. Georgie's saying SKU system is the best thing you can do from the get-go. It will save so much time. It will also save so much money in the long term as well with regards to mistakes. And also the time aspect, you're right, is crazy. When it comes to picking items, if you have a decent SKU system, it is so easy. And during the 24-hour listing thing I've done, I didn't SKU everything correctly. So I sold an item, I think it was last week I sold it. And I kid you not, it took me about 45 minutes to find this one item.
Yeah.
What a complete waste of time when it's a 2-second job. So get in the habit of, before you click list the item, the SKU's in there. And I do the same. I put how much I paid for it as well. Let's have a look here. Tonks is saying, when an item sells, do you take it out of the clear bag and check? We put in clear bags and check as moisture can get on clothes, jeans. We sold. Glad we checked. As found hidden mold on the inside of jeans. So, Tonks, it'd be interesting to know, do you store your items in like a garage, in a shed, or in like anything such as that? Because I guess, do you get much condensation where you are, which could cause mold? I'm guessing with your brick and mortar, you probably don't.
it's all insulated. It's basically like a house.
Yeah.
So there would never be moisture in the bags. And I don't have clear bags because I have a skew system I'm doing now. They're actually in the parcel bags they'll be sent out in. So there's no point in me like ripping up and doing it, because if you've got the clear bag, you would then have to take out the clear bag because someone's going to bin it anyway. Take out the clear bag, put it in a poly bag, ship it. Whereas all I'm going to have to do now is just put my label on. Done.
So talking about skews, this is the great thing about eBay and running your business, because Tam and Bell do it my way, which again is the everything seller way, I believe. And then Lisa does it your way. So I don't know whether Lisa is niche down as well, but the most important thing I will say, there's no right and wrong way. It's what works for you. So you can imagine, if you are, the best way I always like to think about it, if for whatever reason I'm sick, so say for instance I'm bedbound for a week or two, and I need to explain to someone how to pick these items, is it going to be simple for them to learn and pick it? I think Jamie's way is more simple than mine, because you just say, right, here's the numbers, and they follow in order. Where I've always had it this way, but if I ever was to niche down, I'd probably follow Jamie's way a bit more. So it has to work for you. Let's have a look here. Right, so Lee wants you to flex, and I think it is about time. We've been going an hour. So come on, mate, time to flex. What is your best find, and what did you sell it for? And I know Jamie's been holding in this flex for an hour, bless him. So
I don't necessarily like the flex, because I think James knows this, but I think it's more impressive if you like do something often, like consistently.
Yeah.
So like I'd be more impressed if someone said I sell 50 items a day at 20 quid a day than someone who sells one time an item for £100. But I'll answer Lee's question. It was a Newcastle shirt from one of my suppliers for £1, and it was the 96-97 goalkeeper, and it was like only made for Newcastle because it had like the Newcastle bridge on it.
That's like a Shaka. You remember Shaka Hislop, but that's a Shaka Hislop kind of days.
Yeah. I think it's that is the goalkeeper who wore it, isn't it? I think I can't remember some random name. Not a Toon fan, but I think I sold for 350 quid. Nice. And then best charity shop find, I reckon, was a Halo 2 promo T-shirt in a charity shop, and this was when they were closing, so it sat in the shop all day. Front of the rack, £2. I sold it in minutes to New York for like 150.
It's amazing we can sell things really quick, and I don't want to give away all Jamie's secrets about what he buys and what he flips quickly, but Jamie brought a jumper the other week, and he knew straight away the moment he brought it in, he listed it, and that jumper, jumper I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, I'll talk about it.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, talk about that.
Yeah, I sniped it off another marketplace platform off another seller, and it was an Umbro sweatshirt, but it was worn by not this one worn by, because I would have sold for way more. But it was an Umbro sweatshirt. It's sort of like a drill top, which was worn by Liam Gallagher, famously worn by Liam Gallagher. I think a Main Road gig when he was Oasis, and I bought it for I think it was a tenner or £8, and it sat on this marketplace app for about 5 hours, and I sold it within. I think I was talking to you, James. I was on live stream with you, and I think it was about 3 minutes.
It was minutes.
And I was like, "Oh, it's sold." And I sold it for £125.
Yeah,
and it was just an Umbro jumper.
And that's what I was saying, Jamie, at the start. For the people who have joined later on, I was saying at the start that I'm just amazed at Jamie's knowledge, because I would have just scrolled past that thinking Umbro doesn't sell. You can get Umbro from Sports
Direct. It's the
brand
brand within the brand.
Exactly that. So it's the knowledge, and you gain that from research, gain that from experience. And I guess part of your research is from Andrew, who's saying, good evening to us both. And I'm sure Jamie has mentioned by now how I used to be his reselling inspiration. Now he is the inspiration himself. So I'm guessing, did you learn a lot from other YouTubers? Where did you get your knowledge from? Because you kind of know it growing up, but you're too young to know Oasis and who Oasis are. So how did you know about that kind of jumper?
Well, I'm actually a Oasis fan, but yeah.
I know you are, but
I'm very mature for my age. I like to think that I'm like a 40-year-old man trapped in a boy's body. But yeah, I knew. This is going to sound really like nerdy, but I knew what the jumper was from the neckline, and I was like, oh, it's the thick puffy neck with the drawstring bottom hem, that's the Schmocky War or
Yeah.
Smocky War. I was like, that's the one. And I think I just knew it because I'd seen someone on Instagram like listed one for like 150, 200 quid. I was like, oh, look out for that.
Yeah.
And I think it's just research and just being active and like knowing, because people will tell you stuff. Like, not everyone knows everything. So I might tell you something. You might tell me something as well.
Yeah.
You can always learn off other people. You
Yeah,
don't
I
know
agree.
everything. You're not the expert. There's no expert really. Even the expert will miss stuff and they go, oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. And I think that's why the reselling community is really good. Not just with YouTube, but on Instagram. I just scroll Instagram and Leo asked a question earlier about the flex. It's probably because he wants us to mention his about the game he sold. And
Yeah,
Lee knows, with regards to gaming items, because he specializes in it, what ones to look out for, what ones to leave behind. And you're right, that comes from experience. The secret carpet is in, Newcastle fan.
That's
and
good.
yeah, Shaka was amazing on Championship Manager. I remember playing Championship Manager. Nice, Jamie. 1-2-5 in 3 minutes view. So, Jamie, let me ask you a question with regards to that. How much of you was happy it sold in 3 minutes, and how much of you was disappointed? And for people who ever do football accumulators or football betting, it's like the cash out option. Sometimes you think I'm going to cash out at £60.
Been James slagged out, guys. James slagged out, guys. Can I just say to everyone quick, before James joins back, he actually told me my Wi-Fi wasn't that good, but he's the one who's lagged out. So, yeah, a lot of people in the group know I had awful Wi-Fi, and I was on the Matrix because my screen would go green, but now he knows that his Wi-Fi is worse than me, so I think we should answer some questions.
We're back. I deserve that after the amount of abuse I give you about your Wi-Fi.
To chat about that, James.
But anyway, look at all the comments here. Jamie's host. They're all happy. You might as well run the show. Anyway, yeah. So what I was saying is, how disappointed was you?
Oops.
Or how happy was you?
I'm going to be completely honest with you. I wasn't disappointed one bit because I looked at comps and I was like, this owes me £8. I've listed it for, I think a mate of mine actually on Instagram sold one he had it for 200 and best off he took 150.
Yeah.
And I was like, the only other one listed is like 150. So I was like, I'm just going to do 125. And then the minute it's sold, I was like, cool.
So I have another
question. Wear it, though. That's the thing. That was the only regret.
I have another question for you. Are you past the stage? Because I used to remember if anything sold on eBay over the cost of like 60 quid, I'd be so worried about sending it and whether you're going to have any issues. Are you past the stage now? Think to yourself, if someone's going to return my item, they're going to return it anyway.
I think, this is me being upfront and honest here. I think if you've got free returns as well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If someone returned it, like if it was a £500 t-shirt, you might be a bit disheartened, but you got it back. It's not like it was destroyed in transit. You're just going to list it again.
Yeah.
And you might get a bit less, but at the end of the day, it's just a t-shirt at the end of the day as well. And then, like, you may have got that money, but it just wasn't meant to be. You're going to win on another item. It's not that day, it's the whole year. That's it.
Mark Rosales is in the house and he says, no matching Tyson shirt, what gives? So to fill everyone in on this comment, as we mentioned at the start, Jamie's got this Rap Mike Tyson tee and I'm a huge boxing fan. And I've been trying to get Jamie to either donate this to me. I've offered him £200 for the tee. He rejected it. So I went on to Alibaba and people who know what Alibaba's like. And this was back in, I want to say November. And I ordered the same T-shirt Jamie has got for £7, and it still has not arrived. So I was hoping it was going to arrive this week so I can wear it tonight, but it's still not here. But that's what that's about. But Mark, thanks for popping in, mate. Yeah, Money Mental saying he thinks I cashed out. Yeah, I mentioned cash out and the internet dropped, so I don't know what's going on there. Wonder how much he could have got on bids. What's your thoughts on auctions?
This is my opinion, but I never do them because they're like proven that they go under market. You might get one that goes over market, but I'd rather just stick with the buy now. And then with an auction, you could wait 7 days and they don't pay.
Yeah,
that's
I'm the same. I rarely run auctions. Yeah, I rarely run auctions. I do it now and again with stuff that's been sticky and in the store for a while, but it's quite rare.
I've done one auction actually. I remember I did it like last year when I was still up in the office, and it was an Iron Maiden t-shirt from the 80s, just a bootleg one. My supplier didn't know what it was worth, and I think it was like £3.
Yeah.
And it was just, I knew it was old. It was single stitches, paper thin, and it was like an iron-on. And I was like, this is cool. And it was a Japan tour. I was like, this is money. So I put it on auction. I start priced it at like £30. And within minutes, some guy in Canada was like, I'll give you £50. I was like, oh, it's on auction £30. I'll let you know, blah, blah, blah. There was no solds on this or anything. And then they were like, I'll give you £100. So I was like, okay, took £100, done. But then it makes you think you could have got more. But with an auction, I think it's not guaranteed as well, because with your buy it now, you've got the price you're happy with.
Yeah.
You listed that price as you pressed list. But with an auction, you could list it at 99p start price to get people buying, but then someone buys it for 99p. I know I've done it, and I'm sure a lot of other resellers done it. You've bid on an item and gone, oh, I've just won this t-shirt for like 99p, and it's worth £100.
Yeah.
Because no one else has bid.
An auction, it can go one or two ways. So an auction can be really good. If you get 2 or 3 people desperate for that item, it can be really good because they can start upbidding each other and pay it over the odds. And I think that's why Whatnot is quite big in America. But I know it's coming over here a bit more. You have to have a real following because I'll give an example, and Chris will speak about this. Daily Refinement will do a Whatnot stream, and he might get £10 or £15 or dollars over what the item's worth. But the moment he is not hosting that live stream, they get less than what it's probably worth on eBay. So I think auction's very similar. Jamie, Shabmeister is asking about your T-shirt we spoke about. Is your Star Wars tee you're wearing 1996 and all over print?
Yes. I think it looks different because my camera's inverted, not on here, but on YouTube, which is very strange. You can't fix it. But it is a 1996 all over print.
Yeah, so Lisa's saying what I was asking there. Always wonder where it sells same day. Isn't it really strange? Because you list up the item for what you want to get for it. It sells straight away. And then you always have that moment of feeling like, oh, have I listed it too low? But at the end of the day,
you got the price you wanted. It's done. You can't go back on it.
This question's brilliant, Andrew. I'll tell you why. Because we were having this discussion this morning in the 24-hour room.
I brought this up, yeah. Wow.
And Jamie actually brought this up. So I think this is obviously something that Jamie's been quite passionate about for a while. Yeah. So in my view, Nike is pronounced Nike, but the official name of Nike is actually Nike. And I don't say Adidas, I say Adidas. Jamie, what about you?
So I say Nike because I think you don't ride a bikey, you ride a bike. But then I was thinking earlier, the creator of Adidas was Adi Dassler, a German bloke. And fun fact, his brother invented Puma.
Yeah.
And can't remember his surname, it's German. But yeah, Adi Dassler sounds like Adidas. It's like, I've always called it Adidas, but a lot of people say Adidas.
Yeah.
But I generally think I'd say Adidas, but it is actually Adidas. It's my personal preference. But Nike is Nike. You don't say Nike because you wouldn't say going out on a bikey ride. You just wouldn't say it. It's not English.
But I agree with you, but the official thing is Nike. Because if you ask anyone in America, they'll say it's Nike as well. So it is Nike, but us people in the UK do not say Nike, we say Nike. So Lionheart Vinty, so your top is older than you.
I'm not vintage yet, and all my clothing that I wear, other than shoes, is older than me.
Which is just
Literally,
crazy.
or older
Crazy.
than me, and they've survived this long, and I just love wearing vintage. Love it.
So, Jamie, we've been going 1 hour, 15 minutes. So, I would probably say 1 minute was my drop off. So, thank you for holding the show together. I think everyone was quite excited. The chat was getting excited when you was host. And Landon's right, karma, because we give Jamie so much stick for
So
his
much
internet.
stick, but then I got my new router, and
The
we'll
new
take
the new
the
plug. The new
yeah.
plug's working well, and I've obviously cut my internet now
The
by giving you
dial-ups come up,
advice
is it, mate?
on doing it. But yeah, big shout out to Jamie. Jamie, once again, for people who want to follow your journey, especially with the plan to get to that million in 5 years or 3 years, you said earlier. We've got this recorded, so I'll circle back. But where could they find you?
You can find me on Instagram, and I'll happily answer any message that I get on my DMs. I have time for anyone who needs help with anything, any advice. I'm no expert, but I'll happily help you. And yeah, appreciate a follow on my Instagram, Sully's Vintage with a Z, and same on TikTok as well. And yeah, I do a thing on my Instagram. We didn't mention it, but I have a thing called the
Mention
Sully
it. Let's plug it.
Steals.
Let's plug it.
Sully Steals of the Day. So you can buy something on my Instagram, 20% off for Instagram followers. So if something's a £5, it's £4. You can either pick up the shop for free, or I'll ship it anywhere in the world. So yeah, I do that on my Instagram story, usually every day. Slacking at the moment, but it'll be back soon.
And yeah, with regards to the postage, really good. And Jamie has is it the £5 rail you have?
I had the £5 rails in my shop, which was so popular. It's £5 or 3 for 12, but I actually do that online now.
Yeah.
So you can get like really good stuff for £5, which is amazing.
And for the other resellers, you might want to buy some stuff yourself, but Jamie's prices are so good. There's a lot of things that
I have a lot of resellers to buy
resell yourself. So yeah, definitely check it. I love the daily drop. Every time I'm like, Jamie, what have we got going on today? So
yeah.
So Jess is saying here she's still waiting for Jamie to reply to her last DM, but maybe he's just ignoring her. But Jamie's really good at replying to messages, and yeah, Limelight
that's
saying
just because it's Jess.
Yeah, exactly. So Damien's saying Nike was a Greek goddess for victory and is pronounced Nike. See,
that's a good fact, but I can't say that. I can't say it like that. I just feel like wrong. I don't know.
So before we close up,
scones.
Limelight is saying, is there a good website to learn about vintage tags?
Ooh, that's good. I would personally, what I did was you can either go on like TikTok or something.
Yeah.
I wouldn't watch like a really long YouTube video on it, but I go on Google and I would search the brand you're looking for to learn. So I could put like Fruit of the Loom tag guide, and it'll have every single tag with the date on it. And you'll go, ooh, this is a Nike t-shirt. This one's modern, but this one's made in USA. It's 90s. This one's made in Slovakia, Greece. And you'll then remember it. It's just like looking over. It's like a picture book, and you're like, oh, I remember that now. And then you use that in your Rolodex when you go to the thrifts, the shops, and you go through. You're like, oh, I haven't seen a Nike blue tag before.
So this is what I looked at yesterday. I was on this site for Fruit of the Loom, and there is so much history of the different tags.
Yeah.
So
I collect Fruit of the Loom, so I know the tags very well.
I know it says I know everyone always says, oh, just use Google, but it's so true with Fruit of the Loom stuff. So yeah. So we've got a new name for me. Frankie Harry's in the house. Sully lad. Jack's missed the live. Brilliant, Jack. We've been promoting it. We've been talking about it, but that's okay, Jack. Don't worry. You have to watch the replay. But one last thing I want to mention about is this year, and this is an exclusive, and you're lucky that, Jamie, you're on this. I plan to do 10 to 12 boot sales across the UK. A little bit of a challenge to find out where in the UK is the best car boot sale. And I've already told Jamie that I will be coming to visit him in Cardiff. I'm going to come and see the shop. And hopefully me and Jamie are going to get out. We're going to go to a car boot sale together. And my plan is just to follow Jamie around and see what he does when it goes to sourcing clothes. And we'll probably make it a bit of a vlog. We'll probably, hopefully, go out for some drinks and some food and stuff and have a good chat because
Yeah,
really
I think it'd be really good. Yeah.
So yeah, stay tuned to the channel. We're going to be doing that this year. And if you want me to come and visit where you are, drop me a message on Instagram because I'm planning a trip up to Scotland. So Tama Bell, if you're still in, and they are because they've just shared this site as well for people. I'll be messaging you guys. It'll be really good to meet up and come to Scotland. But I'm definitely only going to Scotland in the peak of the summer. I'm not traveling up to Scotland anytime soon because it's -6 down here, and so I will not be coming there. Just ask a question. Will his mum be going as well? Yes, she's going to come to the pub. We were speaking to Jamie's mum today, and I'm sure she's going to come out to the pub with us as well because
yeah, my mum's a legend. So my mum's probably watching now. So thanks, mum, and hopefully you still have to go to charity shops on the weekend.
Shabmeister saying, don't forget to come to Chelford. Is that does he mean Chelmsford or Chelford? Because if it's Chelford, I've never heard of it. But if it's Chelmsford,
Yeah.
Essex is Chelmsford's Essex, isn't it? I haven't just made it up.
Chelmsford's Essex, yeah.
Yeah, so Essex is going to be part of it as well. So yeah, -6. That's cold in Scotland. Yeah, the shed was -6 today for most of the day. Hence why I'm in the lounge doing the podcast.
Yeah, it's freezing today.
Yeah, Jack's saying him and Jess are near Manchester. Manchester's on the list. It is Chelford in Cheshire.
Wow.
Okay. So, yeah, Manchester seems like a good area for people. So, yeah, I'm going to plan it. I'm going to announce it on Instagram and talk a bit more about YouTube and my journey of where I want to go. So, any other resellers, if you do want to meet up and we can go boot sailing together, we can hang out together for a bit. It'd be really cool. But last of all, 1 hour 20, Jamie, you've done so well. You behaved yourself for one.
James, thank you.
I want to say a big shout out to Jamie. And as I said at the start, really proud of your journey so far. And at
Thanks for having me on,
19 years of age, you're absolutely smashing it. So keep it going. Thanks to everyone who's come. Thanks for all the questions. It's been really cool. And Tama Bell, it's going to be happening. I'm going to drop you a message. But thank you all again. I'm going to release my boot sale video probably tomorrow, if not Wednesday. And what I'll probably do later this week is talk a little bit more about the 2 garages I've agreed to rent. So that'd be really cool. But thanks again, and I will see you on the next video.
Thanks, guys.